Hi, welcome to Homecoming at Home, Southeastern's 2020 virtual homecoming program. I'm Mike Revo, Senior Director of Marketing Communications here at Southeastern, and with questions provided by you, our faculty, staff, students, and alumni, I'll be interviewing President John Crain today. So we appreciate you participating in this, and hopefully we'll have a little fun.
Let's get to it.
The first question is, now that we have completed the spring and summer semesters and we're well into the fall, how are things at Southeastern overall, and what have been the impacts of COVID?
There's no doubt that everyone would rather all be here face-to-face with a traditional type of instruction and activities and events and interaction, but we just can't do that right now. And our first goal, of course, is to try to keep everyone as safe as possible. And so, given all of those constraints, I think we're doing pretty well. Definitely looks different around campus than it normally would. There are fewer people. Campus is less dense, but there are people here. If you walk around campus, there are students moving about. If you walk through classrooms, there are classes going on with face-to-face instruction, maybe not in every room, but in every building. We've accomplished what we set out to accomplish, and that was to have less dense population on campus so that we could comply with all of the safety measures, the social distancing. Given everything that we're dealing with and all of the constraints and all of the restrictions, all of the health safety protocols, I think our people are doing a fine job. And I think for the most part our students are adjusting to that pretty well.
Next question is, how have things changed in the decade since the budget cuts started in 2008, 2009?
Things have changed in many ways, but probably the single biggest change is the way the university is resourced. And that is to say, the way that we generate the budget to operate the university is dramatically different than it was when I became president. We've gone from being about 2/3 funded by the state to being over 2/3 funded from essentially our students through tuition and fees. And then also much more of what we do at the university is funded privately through donors and auxiliary activities that generate resources. So it's a very different business model than it was when I became president. Every decision we have to think about, how does this affect the funding model? Because we know that we can't rely on the state to fund the operations of the university. We have to be mindful of the impact on the overall budget of the university. So it does have an influence on all of the decisions that we make, all of the things that we consider. We sort of see everything through a little bit different lens than we did at the beginning of that time period.
There have been many new buildings go up around campus, and several others have been renovated. Are there plans to do any more construction projects on campus in the near future?
Yes. Let me tell you a little bit about some of those things. The big thing that we're working on right now that we're very excited about is the renovation of D. Vickers Hall. We're really excited to be working with the state right now for state capital outlay funds to renovate that facility. We also have a pledge from a donor. It's going to be a complete renovation, which means that not quite to the point where we'll take it down to the bare walls and then rebuild it, but almost. It will ultimately be a total of about $27 million that's spent over the next several years to completely renovate that building, completely upgrading it. It'll have a very different look. That renovation project will also allow us to accomplish several aspects of the campus master plan, which is the plan that we have for the entire campus that we work with our architects. And it will allow us to deal with some of the traffic flow, pedestrian flow issues, and really finalize that core of the academic part of campus, our classrooms, library, the union is right there, the quad. All of that is really going to come together in a beautiful way. We also have Siena Hall. We were able to get a significant private contribution, $1 million to use toward upgrading Siena Hall. We've done that work. We've also been able to secure some other private funds and are working on some additional funds. The building already, particularly from the inside, has been pretty dramatically upgraded and altered, and there'll be some additional phases to that work over the next few years. And then a project we just completed that took several years was Tinsley Hall. It's turned out really nice, and I know that the students are enjoying it, and the staff who are there now, and it's been a really nice addition to the campus. So we'll always have some things going on in terms of facilities. I'm a great believer that you have to continue to improve your facilities in order to be competitive, and I think having first-class facilities is really important. The Pink Panther. A whole series of movies, you know, The Return of the Pink Panther, The Revenge of the Pink Panther. Talking, I'm old. I had some people, very few people, but some of the neighbors called me because they called me Luke. It's short for my middle name, a hamburger.
Okay, we had this question come in from someone, and they ask, candidly, what is your perception of fraternities and sororities at Southeastern, and what would you like to see from them in the future?
I believe that all of our student organizations, including our Greek letter student organizations, our fraternities and sororities, need to contribute to the mission of the university. There needs to be a reason that's important to the mission of the university, that those organizations are recognized by the university. Obviously, our students come to the university to get an education, but I always tell our new students when I'm speaking at orientation that a big part of their education is not going to be in a classroom. It's going to be through those interactions and associations that they make with others, working with other people, other students, faculty and staff, and community people. And I think our fraternities and sororities, which are social organizations, give students a great opportunity to do those things. There have been some challenges with some of those organizations here and at other universities around the country, probably most importantly through hazing issues. And so we've done a lot to educate our students, our student organizations about hazing and the dangers of hazing, why it's a bad idea, and that there's just really no place for that at the university. What we really want to do is to emphasize the positive things that those organizations do. And as we emphasize and publicize the positive impact that they have and the positive things that they bring to our campus and our community, the philanthropy that they do, the community service that they do. Many of those organizations at points in time in their history have clearly demonstrated that they can make a significant impact, not just on the university, but on the personal development of many of our students. So I'm encouraged that there's a bright future there for those organizations that embrace that type of focus.
Okay, another question was, bring us up to date on the health of Friendship Oak and our plans for taking care of it. I seem to remember some seedlings being planted.
We spend a lot of special attention on Friendship Oak. Obviously, it's the most iconic thing on campus about Southeastern. It's on all sorts of documents and publications and photographs. And when you ask anyone who's a graduate of Southeastern about what do they think of about their time on campus, invariably they'll get around to mentioning Friendship Oak. It's an old oak tree, and obvious, you can tell that because it's so large and spread out, but you can also begin to see that it's getting kind of old. And so we're very sensitive to that and try to make sure that we take care of it. We have an arborist check it every year and do whatever might need to be done. It has a finite lifespan, and we know that. And so over the years, there have also been seedlings. There have been acorns planted in buckets. And so there are little friendship oaks around, I assure you. We're not ever going to be without either this friendship oak or something that came from this friendship oak.
We had a couple of questions come in that are looking for advice. So the first one is, we all know that first impressions last, as many interviewers make up their minds about candidates in the first 5 minutes. Do you have any tips on how to help Lions stand out and win the interview from the start?
I'm a great believer in interviews of honesty and sincerity. I would recommend that you not try to be something that you aren't. Be who you are. Be professional and polite and courteous and all of those things, but be who you are. Let the person that's interviewing you get to see who you are. I would also encourage, particularly our recent graduates who are maybe looking at their first job after graduation, if you've worked while you were in school, which most of our students have worked or do work, I would encourage you to make sure that you work into the conversation the fact that you know how to get up in the morning and come to work and be prepared to come to work, because those kind of basic skills are really important to employers, and we hear that repeatedly, not so much about our graduates at Southeastern, but about graduates from some institutions that employers say, you know, they may have the degree, but they just don't know how to get up and come to work, and that's a necessary first step. So I would keep it fairly simple and straightforward, and make sure that that person gets a sense of who you are, and be sincere, be nice, and be yourself. Dune. I'm sure that when I was young, my mother or father washed my mouth. I was so for saying something I shouldn't have. My mother, because my mother effectively raised me. My father died when I was young, so. Star Trek.
And the next question in that line is, what do you do to ensure you continue to grow and develop as a leader?
There's a song, I don't remember who the artist is. The refrain in the song is, be humble and kind. And you know, I always kind of come back to that. You have to be humble. You have to realize that no matter how long you've done something, you don't know it all, and that things change, and that something that was kind of the way you've known it to be for a long time can be completely different tomorrow. And always be kind to people. You know, treat other people like you want to be treated. And so, you know, that's kind of the core of the philosophy around the way I approach leadership, and I believe that that's a timeless way to approach leadership, and so that's what I try to do.
Okay. We have a few questions that are more personal in nature. What are some things that you like to do for fun, hobbies, etc.?
Well, presidents aren't supposed to have any fun, you know. No, actually, my hobbies and fun are fairly simple, and tend to sort of revolve around things that I do to try and relax and deal with stress, because you know, it's sometimes a stressful job. I like to exercise. I don't exercise as much as I used to because I just can't, but I like to exercise, and I find that helps relieve stress. I like to read. Primarily, if I'm reading to relax and reduce stress, I like to read fiction, science fiction in particular. I like music, and sometimes play a little bit of music on the piano, which is relaxing. when I have the opportunity, spend a little bit of time with friends and family and those kind of things that you don't get to do much of right now. So it's pretty simple. I like good foods. I like to cook. I like good wine to go with the good food. So it's a fairly simple mixture.
Another question, same line, where is your favorite spot on campus and why?
I have several favorite spots on campus. You probably would think I would say Friendship Oak, but that's not actually one of my favorite spots on campus. I'll give you two. One is the quad, where sort of between the Student Union, D. Vickers, the library, and Fayard Hall. But at a particular time of day and viewed from a particular angle, early in the morning when it's not too, the sun's not too bright yet, if you are sort of approaching the quad from the north, viewing the new Student Union through the oak trees, is one of my favorite places on campus. So sometimes I'll just sit down in one of the benches there on the presidential walkway and look at that, because it's just such a beautiful, bucolic setting. So one of the other favorite places that I like on campus is the space between Mead Hall, the Science Building, and Science Building Annex, immediately behind it. And I think a lot of people don't even know that space is back there, but it's almost like a little grotto. Between the two buildings, there are several beautiful ginkgo trees growing in there and a lot of lush vegetation. And it's just somehow always kind of cooler, and it's just a nice little place to walk through and enjoy the plants. There's also a little greenhouse there that has some orchids and things growing, at bromeliads and other plants that are really nice. Those are two of my favorite places. No. Probably Ernie Correa, who was the department head in accounting when I chose that as a major. Hola. Skim.
During your time as president, was there something about being president here at Southeastern that has changed you?
I am by nature a very impatient person. Kind of a driven, goal-oriented person, and have been known to be somewhat impatient. And I think one of the things that's changed in me is I have learned to be much more patient. First of all, you have to have a team of people to get anything accomplished. You can't really accomplish much on your own. And in order to have a functioning, highly functioning team, you have to give people their space and an opportunity to accomplish things themselves. And so I have finally learned to slow down, back up, give people some space, and let them do their work. And that's different about me than earlier in my career. I tended to be one of these people who would, I want you to do this, and if you didn't do it pretty fast, I'd come along and do it for you. And I've really tried to stop that. I still do it occasionally, but I've tried. I think I'm better at that.
Dr. Crain, a little birdie told me that you're a skilled pianist. Would you ever consider playing a number or two for the purpose of raising a little money for an arts program at Southeastern? Don't tell us that you aren't any good either. If you're bad, even more of a sacrifice on your part, an altruistic thing. Come on, will you do it?
No. So I do play the piano, and I was never real good as a pianist, but I was certainly better than I am now. Lack of practice, degradation of fine motor skills or whatever. I just don't get to play very much. And if you're gonna play the piano, you have to practice, especially if you're the kind of pianist I am, meaning that I wasn't born talented as a pianist. One of the things about being president of the university is you give up a lot of yourself. You lose the opportunity to have very much privacy under any definition. You live on campus, you're at events all the time, you have people around all the time, you have to be on your best behavior all the time. And so from very early in my tenure as president, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to keep certain things that were personal for just me. And for me, playing the piano is one of the best avenues to reduce stress and, unwind. And so I've always been very much concerned that if I started making that part of my work, I would lose the ability to have that effect. And so I've always guarded that and kind of protected that as, this is the one little thing about me that is just for me, and I'm not going to make it part of the job. And I would really like to stick with that. There are people who have heard me play the piano, and they're not around clamoring for me to continue those performances. But it's I play the piano for fun and enjoyment. I'm all about supporting the arts, and I'm more than happy to do whatever to help support the arts on campus. I just don't know that I'm willing to shake the tin cup and perform as the pianist in order to raise money for my work. Probably when I was a freshman, there's actually 2 classes in what at that time was called ancient history. I had a really, really good teacher that I enjoyed immensely. Three. I like Sauvignon Blanc. Neither.